Hello, everyone. I'm very excited about this particular panel because I have a feeling it's going to be the most creative artistic panel, and the name to it is NFT as a form of art. Let's just jump into it. We have a panel of amazing, beautiful women, first and foremost, and also great artists. So please introduce yourself and, if possible, integrate into your introduction your artistic journey and how Web3 became a part of it. We can go in any order. Yes, SENI, you can be the first one.
Okay, no problem. I'm happy to. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is SENI. I'm Bali-based artist. Well, speaking about my artistic journey, I used to be a fashion and event illustrator. It's when there is a live event and you're just drawing on the floor and doing some sketches. And I always but I always had so-called 9 to 5 office job. And in January 2021, I was very active on the Clubhouse. If you remember this application, I don't know whether it's alive or not. So yeah, I was randomly just jumping from room to room, searching for some inspiration for my next room that I will be hosting. And I jumped into the room called NFT Tips. And it was so new, inspiring, open, friendly. So it was my first day when I Googled what NFT is. And 3 days later, I minted my first art. 5 days later, I sold it. So yeah, that was my first fast, very speedy integration into the NFT world. And since this 2021 winter, I'm totally 100% into NFT space. Yes, like that. Someone please share your story now.
Kelly, the floor is yours.
First of all, congratulations. I think my story is very different from yours. And I didn't have like this chance of, being involved as soon as I did my first NFTs. Well, I will start by introducing myself. My name is Janos. I'm a Colombian illustrator and graphic designer. I'm currently based in Barcelona. I just moved 1 year ago here. And what inspires me the most as an illustrator is my whole background in Colombia. Like, I lived probably in one of the most diverse countries in the world, or that's what I like to think, because that's how I feel it. So it inspired me a lot. And I discovered like the NFT space 1 year ago, and probably a bit more, because I already had like the background of crypto. And when I started, I had no idea of what an NFT was. I got the opportunity of get into foundation and did too, but I didn't get like the chance to sell anything, and there was not enough information at that point of what the NFT world was or about Web3. So I wasn't able to connect very well with it. I didn't click like with the whole concept. And I kind of disappeared because I moved to Barcelona. I had like many things in my mind. And this year, at the beginning of the year, I found out like that there were brands, there were people building brands, and they were using the NFT to expand the potential of them. And that's when I clicked completely, because I understood there was a whole universe, And since then, I started to study what was Web3, what was it about, like what was people talking about when they spoke about decentralization. And then I joined. Like like in March, I filled myself with value, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I started making art. I wasn't an illustrator till I joined like the Web3, to be honest. So yes, that's where my journey began.
Awesome, Angie, you're up.
Yes, thank you. And hello, everybody. It's really, really cool to be here with you all today. Hi. My name is Angie. I'm initially a graphic designer, and I live in the Netherlands. So I've been drawing using vectors for about 20 years now. And for a long, long time, I was more traditional, working with pencils, papers, canvases, and paint until a couple of years ago, where I just started really going deeper with vectors and creating and having fun. And the idea was that when you do something digitally, you also have more freedom over what you do. Whereas on a canvas or on paper, if you flunk, sometimes you need to erase and undo a lot of what you've done so you can rebuild. And so it's really got a beautiful flexibility that I like, and that really allows me to explore. And when the lockdowns started in 2020, I was pushing myself to do more doodles, digital doodles, and every day I was really trying to create something. I spent a lot of time on that. And a lot of friends on social media were actually telling me about NFTs and saying how cool that was and that I should really get into that. So I went through a turbulent time, but when I came out of it, which was last year, I think around February, I got more time to really look at what the blockchain was and to learn about NFTs. And that's when I started minting. So ever since, I've been doing more and more art. I've worked on several projects. So it's been an incredible journey that I'm very grateful for. I've been able to meet so many incredible friends and collectors and whatever, and just grow, which has been tremendous.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, ladies. Side note for our attendance, the conference attendance, I highly encourage you as we speak to check out the works of the artists, because I think it will really help you to understand their conversation and their stories better. And I move on to the next question. As I mentioned earlier, I really want to dive deep into your artistic world and understand where you come from and how this delicate artistic vision integrates into Web3. So my next question, hence, is about what inspires you and what is your artistic vision?
I will continue the order that we already took. So,
yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question. This is a really interesting question. I would say that currently I'm very inspired by the post-human ideas, some futuristic ideas. Actually, inspiration is everywhere, but when I want to search for inspiration, I would probably go somewhere far from art. So inspiration for art for me should be found somewhere very, very far from art originally. Right now, for me, it's science. Particularly, it's physics. Physics of different states of the materials. I found a very interesting research that says that any object can be seen liquid. It's just the matter of the time speed with which we look at it. So it was such a mind-blowing thought that, for example, this glass can be seen not as a glass but as a liquid if my eyes were able to look faster. And it just blew my mind, the scientific research. And that's why it was the boost of my inspiration, and I created a collection called Liquid Universe, which is actually describes my vision of the future world, not the human world, but the post-human world. So that's so when you say you want to dive deeper into the artistic vision, in my case, you really need to learn diving because it's all about liquids.
Oh my God, that's a great side note. Yes, literally. Yeah, as I said, please check out SENI's art as we speak to like better understand the visions. Yes, yes, yes. We want to support artists. That's what Artisan is about. We want to put it in the name of the company. And also, I'm not an artist, but I wanted to share a very interesting scientific fact is that I recently learned that everything physical is an illusion because apparently 90% of every atom that we're made of is like nothing. It's just air. It does not exist. It's empty space. So that blew my mind, and I'm also
Yeah.
trying to wrap my head around this idea, and it's really hard.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Like when you start diving into science, diving into the reality, like what is reality actually, not as we see, but like the physics side of the question. It's so interesting and it's so different from the world that we used to live in. Oh my, yeah, I definitely understand.
Well, thanks for exploring it for us, Seni.
My pleasure.
Kelly, of course, Kelly, please share your story.
Okay, so my main inspiration is humans and our connection with nature and humans as nature itself. So I like to represent in my illustrations vibrant colors. You will see how I always use like explosions of colors because that's what probably captures my attention the most. The possibility of colors and to share with you like certain sensations or feelings to communicate themselves, even if there are language barriers. And I like to illustrate what I see in my daily life. And I like to show mainly like inclusion. I live in a country where everything, like you can find diverse cultures, diverse kind of people, diverse backgrounds. And it's really interesting at how you can go to a region from another and see a whole different like universe because of their culture, their way of living is very different. So I like to communicate this with the world. I focus always in my Colombian background, probably because that's where I learned about life. And I like to communicate mainly like my values. I like to explore like the feelings that I experiment while being a human itself, not only an artist and not only an illustrator, but a human. For example, I like to join ideas like my experience. I've been in a long distance relationship, and if that marks my life, I want to communicate it and relate it with human nature. That's part of the way we communicate, we live.
Sorry,
Hello.
sorry, hi. And
Hi.
Kelly,
Hi.
so sorry.
Well, it's all right. We're happy to have you. So maybe let's just give mic to Randy and give him a chance to introduce himself, and please integrate your creative journey into Web3 into the introduction.
Hey guys, I'm Riandy from Indonesia. I am an artist and illustrator, and then basically I love drawing since I was a little kid. And then I took a major on architecture and fine art in university. And then I work as a painter and an illustrator. Basically, as a painter, I make a painting like oil paints and acrylics, and then I already helped my solo exhibition here in Bandung, Indonesia, in 2017. And then I make an illustration for Bandung here is like a mecca for independent music in Indonesia. So I work as an illustrator for bands. Most of it like psychedelic rock, That's why if you see my work, there's a lot of psychedelic elements on my works. Yeah, and pandemic came, like in 2020. It's hard for me as an artist and illustrator because I cannot help my painting exhibition, and then music is like shut down the movement. So there's I don't get a job from the illustration, and then in 2020 I heard an information about NFT. At the first time when I heard about NFT, I think that wow, this is the like an answer for the digital artist. But now NFT just it's bigger than that, right? Yeah, I think that's my artistic journey maybe till now.
Well, welcome to the circle. Thanks for sharing. And
Thank
Angela,
you.
let's go back to you. We kind of skipped you with the last question.
Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, what inspires me, I think, is, possibly kind of like everybody, all that's around me. But, yeah, I think some topics do inspire me more than others. And among that, I think Japan clearly is a source of inspiration so far in the NFTs I've done. I think when I create, I try to make an atmosphere with the illustration and really to connect to something deeper, to emotions. I think it's nice when we can look at a piece of art without any expectations, something simple that's not really linked to a culture in a way that can look, universal, like a lot of sunsets and sunrises, for example. I really think it reaches to something deeper inside the soul, and it helps to connect within. And I think it's amazing if you can create art and push people in a way to go deeper or to connect more to their emotions. So that's one source of inspiration. But something I also really like is history in general. So I tend to do a lot of research on historical people, especially women. And I've created a series of collections based on that, inspiring women, strong women of the past, of the present, of antiquity, of various time periods. And I work a lot around that. And I think my biggest inspiration when it comes to color is sunsets and sunrises. I tend to use a very restrained palette, and I think it's nice in a way for the creative process because it pushes you to go a lot further and to look for other means of creating what you want to create, the message you really want to pass through.
Thanks for sharing. Angie, I have to ask you, what are these like top 3 or 5 women that really inspired you throughout history?
Wow, that's a really tough one because I think there are so many. But I have a thing for history, like I was saying, and also for cultural cosmogonies. So I think goddesses and such or really powerful women like Cleopatra, because she was totally badass. She kind of like had men at her feet and she was driving them around, having her way, preserving her empire, and securing a future for her people, but also for her sons and her children overall. So yeah, I think Cleopatra is definitely one. Yeah, that's a really good question now that I think of it. I think people also like Frida Kahlo, because she was an artist, but she was really a free spirit overall. And she's somebody who just went and did things her way. If something made her happy, then she would go and do that. And I don't even think she would really let people question her because she felt happy about her choices. And yeah, I think it's important and it's quite powerful.
For sure. Okay, ladies, since I brought up this question because Angie is interested in history, especially women leaders, maybe you want to add something and share your, female historical. Yes, SENI wants to go.
Yes, I was thinking that I really want to mention Coco Chanel, Gabrielle Chanel. She's like the one who made women free, like in terms of fashion, but fashion is the speak that is the way we speak with the social, like with the society. So actually, she was the revolutionary, and yeah, I really wanted to mention her name in this talk.
Yeah, this is a great example. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. I'm glad that all of you, any artist is more than a Web3 artist. You started earlier before, this whole NFT thing began. But I wanted to ask you, what's the major difference between creating NFTs and minting your art compared to creating physical, tangible art? Does NFT by any chance feels like more liberating or not?
Well, since I'm the one who starts always, I would say that actually, in terms of art, I see no difference between, because if you're an artist, you're creating something visual and this is the way you work, and there is no difference between NFT artist and traditional artist. It's the same as the grocery store says that it's a MasterCard store. It's just the channel of distribution and payment. But NFT also brings a very specific, nice, cool, the best community. So the audience of the artist is a bit different. The channel of distribution is a bit different. The promotional techniques and platforms and all this technical side of the work for the artist is very different. But if we're speaking about, if the question was about the art, I see no difference here. What I also want to say is that artists should take NFTs much more serious than the physical arts, because when it's minted, it means that the artwork is placed on the chain and will be there forever. Our NFTs are like our documents, like passports of artists for the future generations. I'm not sure that canvases and sculptures will survive in 100 or 1000 years later. I'm not sure. But NFTs will be on the blockchain, like you cannot erase it. So it means that what you mint right now will be there forever. And that makes our NFTs, our digital arts that we mint, much more valuable than just a canvas. Not from the artistic point of view, but from the historical point of view. NFTs, they are forever in the history, so we should take them really seriously. And we as artists should think about our reputation, about our image in the global world, in the history, in the long-term perspective through the NFTs. So yeah, that's what my point here.
Okay, who wants to volunteer? Good.
Yeah, I think,
I
yeah,
volunteer.
I agree with SENI. And you know what, SENI? Your name in Indonesia is art.
I
SENI is
know.
art.
Yes, I know.
You know, right?
I know.
Cool name. Yeah, about an NFT and traditional art, I think it will, like walk together, like, yeah, there's a different thing about digital art and traditional art, right? Different is, it means is, each of it have their own goodness, right? In digital art, there's, like, you can like cut the time to produce, right? You can, like, if you want to express your feelings using digital arts, is you can, like, produce a lot of feelings, you know what I mean? But in traditional like paintings, you can see the brush strokes. You can feel the meaning of time. When you see the brush strokes, the texture, you can see how the painter put each of different paints on the canvas. But I think nowadays, maybe next time, artists can sell their traditional work using a blockchain, I think. So there's no problem about a difference between traditional art and the digital art anymore. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, NFTs could be like physical works can be connected directly to the NFTs to the digital scan, and it makes them like, yeah, no difference, NFTs is
Like
just an instrument, right? Absolutely agree.
we use blockchain, but NFTs as a certificate of authentication. After we look into the
Randy, can you please adjust your mic? I think there is like a little bit of an issue with sound quality.
check.
Say
Good.
something else.
Hello. A B
Okay,
C D
better.
E F. Yeah, it's like we mint the scan version of the paintings as a certificate of authentication. You know what I mean? After some collectors buys our NFTs, we can send the actual physical painting to their home or gallery, like that, maybe.
Yeah, digital art. Digital.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's a big concept that we also discuss in digital fashion, that it's like a very logical integration and merge of both. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Kelly, I feel like you wanted to share as well.
Yes, sorry for interrupting before. I thought I didn't hear that Randy was going to speak. Yes, I will. I totally agree with the authenticity because I believe that before this, the way of evaluating or like understanding the value of digital art was very different from physical art, So right now they kind of have like the same status, they can have like the same value or the same way of valuing it, like the authentic piece, like the original piece. And I believe that this is something completely game changing for artists, mostly because sometimes, or talking by myself, by my experience, being a digital illustrator could be a little bit frustrating because people tend to value it a little bit less when you print like your pieces, because like it's as if they require less effort or they have less value. So I believe that the NFT space is bringing like this opportunity for valuing our pieces the same. Also, there's always like an original, and there are all like the way of editions. Like this kind of works like the same as in the physical world. So that's great. Like to be able to measure both like in the same place. And also I believe that it's making artists even to explore more and even like explore creating universes and creating like brands. I believe that currently there are more illustrators exploring the brand space. Like they're understanding that they can create like their personal brand and being themselves artists. So that's great because that involves the community in their creative processes. Like somebody from a different place from around the world can co-create with you your piece and can have a voice in the creation of your artworks and your universe. And I believe that's great. I mean, probably this specific part is not exactly related with blockchain, but is related with the concept of decentralization, of this of giving like the creative process a collaborative meaning. And I believe that this is super valuable because we didn't understand like creativity this way as something that can be not only mine but from more people, and that's great because you can involve your community in so many ways, and they can have even ownership in your pieces, and that's amazing. I love it.
Awesome. Angie, you're up next. What do you think?
Yeah, I more or less agree with everything I think that has been said so far, because I think NFTs open many possibilities, but what I like about them is I think they're bringing art to the next level, because I think when there's so much you can do with physical pieces and yeah, sculpture, or there comes a point where you start seeing a lot of the same and the ideas aren't all that different anymore. And I think having digital art being valorized like this is a whole new means, a whole new world to explore, and so much more than just art the way it was. And I think what's even more amazing is this world that's available at your fingertip. And in the past, to be able to get into galleries and things like that, it was really a struggle, you know, unless you knew the right people and could find your way through the gatekeepers. And I think with NFTs, it's more like anybody who really wants to become an artist can start selling and see where they go with that. So in a way, it's giving more of everybody else a fair chance to start exploring and see if they like it and if it works out for them. So I think it's amazing. And you can even now seeing it in the fact that some real life painters are starting to mint their first NFTs, and it's happening almost every day at the moment. So I think it really says a lot about where the future niche of art might next come. And another great thing I think about NFTs is provenance, the fact that you also have the digital history that kind of follows the piece, like who bought that piece, where it's been, if it's been in a vault, you know, or that kind of thing. So just knowing it's here, and no matter what happens, it will always follow the piece. So, I mean, it's also, I think, documentation to a next level, because, I mean, in the past, when you look at the history of art in general, there came a point where often you had people creating copies, and they were sometimes so elaborate that for some artists, it's even impossible to tell what's a real piece, you know, even using catalogs, and what's not. So I think it opens up new avenues when it really comes to who made what, and to really follow the evolution of someone. Maybe someday soon, you know, we'll see complete retrospective of artists featuring every single one of the NFTs they ever minted.
Oh my God, these are all amazing points. So I assume, like, to summarize 2 words from everything that we just discussed, I feel like Web3 makes artists feel more liberated and makes them feel more protected from a standpoint of their rights and ownership of their art pieces. I want to touch base on another very important quality for every person and a member of the society, and step aside from comparing Web 2 and Web 3, but we will go back to it because it's a huge topic. You know, for me as a non-artist, the word artist very often goes hand in hand with the word struggling, because during the lifetime for artists, it's very hard sometimes to make a living through their art. So I was wondering how NFTs changed it, if they did at all. And do you feel like Web3 improved your financial well-being?
Most definitely. If I compare before I did NFTs and before I was doing digital work, whenever I would create illustrations, people would really take my work for granted. And I think people in general don't represent when you are an artist or when you draw, because you're having a ball doing what you do, you're having fun. And for some weird reason, the association of having fun, loving what you do, and having that as a job, being passionate equals, working for nothing for lots of people. And for a long time, there was a tendency for people to really want to underpay me and buy my work or any illustration really, really cheap. So I think it's amazing NFTs because in a way, you create a market and people start valuing what you do. And if you do that well, I think, and exploit the medium fully, people begin to have really respect for what you do, and they just don't see you as somebody doing little doodles anymore. And yeah, I think it makes people see everything else in a different light, and art is going to places with that because it's really, when you can make a living of what you love, I think it's more motivating and you have more mojo because in a way it brings more freedom. So I think it's a virtuous circle.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Angie because I also come from the physical work of illustration, and I had always to combine illustrating with normal so-called office job because my illustration earnings could not help me to live. It was very close to zero. And thanks to NFTs now I do art for a living, and it's this awesome, the best thing that have ever happened. But at the same time, I think it is very important to mention in this chat that NFT, it's not the gate to the paradise with free money, right? NFT is just the source of distribution, and each artist who wants to enter the NFT space has to do his or her own research. This is the most important thing because otherwise you're just not gonna make it. And there are no free money that you just can come, grab, and go. No, it's a hard work with its own rules, with its own there should be work done. But the best thing ever that NFTs brings you directly to the collectors, it's just the direct marketplace. Because in the real world, in the offline world, in the art world, you need to go to the galleries, you need to work with curators. There are lots of filters that are very hard to go through if you're just at the beginner's level. And with NFTs, there are no filters, just, I don't know, anarchy. Yeah, like a whole freedom, Wild West. You just come show off with your art, and if it's good, your collector will find you, and it's a match. Here we go. So yeah, I think I definitely agree with what Angie said, and NFTs help me. And right now, the most of my income comes from art, from NFTs, and thanks God it exists. But what I want to say is that it's also a work, and we are working here, and it should be respected by people who are coming to this space, who are just watching, and be valued as a real work because it is really is. And if someone wants to join for money, no, this is not how it works. No, this is just the channel that you can use to show your art, and then you will see how the market reacts. So NFT is not equal to the free money pool. No, it's not that.
I completely agree with both of you. I think you kind of say already everything, but I will also sum up that I found out that it's very interesting how by everything being registered, like to have everything in the blockchain leaves you like the opportunity or to have a transparent market to, for example, if you're gaining some kind of royalties, you will actually get them, which I didn't have like the same experience in real life. Like when you, for example, sell an illustration for a book, sometimes they do, like they don't do a transparent work for giving
Sure.
you like your reward. So finding this happening in the blockchain is amazing. It's an amazing opportunity because you see how our work is being respected in so many ways and is being valued. And yeah, all the processes become more transparent, and it actually motivates us for giving more, right? Because, for example, I don't know, I was more like a graphic designer than illustrator. I couldn't live from illustration before NFTs, and I didn't have like the feeling that I was going to make it very soon for being as an illustrator, because illustrator industry is really hard in real world. Like most people, as Angie said, try to pay less for more, and are always trying to negotiate with you your time, your effort, your knowledge, because you don't place like a price just because, but you have experience, you've gained experience, and all this is valuable. So it's really cool for people not to be like, most of times, not always, but negotiating your work, negotiating the way you value your work. And I believe that NFTs have opened like these doors for illustrators and artists to have some hope and to think that the system is actually going to change. So yes, I believe like the transparency of NFTs has changed a lot, like the ecosystem for artists, illustrators, designers, for creators.
Randy? We're having a hard time hearing you.
I cannot agree more. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Can you hear me? So a funny story, not funny, more sad story. In 2020, before I like I play in an NFT, I live with my wife and my 4-year-old kid. Before the NFT, because of the pandemic, my refrigerator is empty. You know what I feel. But after, thanks NFT. After the NFT, I can like living my my sons and my wife. And I agree with SENI. NFT is not just about money, but I think with NFT, you know what, I can give something for my son, not the money, but maybe 20 years from now, he could see what his father doing in the blockchain. So that's why I don't want to make something bad in this NFT. I need to give a message for my son about what I did to live, something like that. I think NFT is not just about the money, and there's no easy money here in NFT. We are all still struggle. I think harder than in real life art activity, because in NFT, beside an artist, we also like selling, right? We are not just an artist in NFT, but also like a manager, like
producers.
You know what I mean? Like a sales.
Yeah.
Producers, right?
Wow, thank you for sharing. It looks like overall it's like more optimistic approach in terms of making a little bit more than in traditional art, and maybe cutting out this middleman who needs to buy your art and resell it or put it in the books. Here, like you're your own manager, so you don't pay this commission to middlemen. So that makes me very happy for artists, because I have high respect for what you do, and I think throughout history, people who stay and who are remembered and who are respected are not wealthy managers, are artists and their works that inspire people throughout generations. So I'm really happy that finally we have these technical tools that make you more protected during your lifetime, while you live and can enjoy it, because history shows that often artists like get acknowledged only post factum, which is very sad. So I'm glad that we are collectively changing this narrative. And now we're back to talking about Web 2 vs Web 3. Like, once again, I'm not an artist, so I hear personally a lot of speculation about blockchain and that, maybe it's going to stay, maybe it's going to go, maybe it's all fluff. But like, what is like realistic, what is already set in stone, that is that blockchain changed the history of art for good. I think like everyone would agree that like this historical sale of People last year for $69 million, which is like the third most expensive art piece ever sold historically overall, changed the narrative for blockchain, and we can see already some movement. I still think it's just a little bit, but we know that Sotheby's is making auctions for NFT art, and big galleries such as Louvre or Hermitage or Metropolitan Museum integrate NFTs and mint some of their artworks and just like play with this idea. So how do you see the future of traditional art merging into Web3?
I can start. I would say that I see a huge potential here, like it's obviously, but the first step here, I think, would be that museums, they already have a huge credibility of trust. I mean, so people already know the names of the museums. I mean, the masses, like globally, we do respect museums. We do know that they're good, respectful, that we trust them, and so on and so forth. So if they are integrating into Web3, it brings us as Web3 people much closer to the mass adoption, first of all. Second of all, it brings us much closer to the economy of ownership, to the creative economy. So it means that right now, museums are the owners of the pieces that were made by humanity and should belong to the humanity. And I've heard about like lots of projects that all the biggest museums of the world do or working right now on, that are about the fractionalizing of the NFTs. So it means that, of course, for example, like a Louvre, they have a Mona Lisa, and it's like everyone on the planet knows what is it. And yeah, so there is no fair price for that, right? It's just infinitely big one. But if we said that it can be fractionalized, it can like into very, very small pieces, I don't know, like 100 bags or something like that. It's like shares. Yeah, open a shares company for Mona Lisa. It will make the art, but it will bring art back to the humanity. So it will bring us to the decentralization, like the real idea of the decentralization and the ownership economy.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, basically it was already nicely summarized what I saw for the future with NFTs. I think right now what we're going through is more a phase where it's going to be adopted by the bigger masses. It's kind of like cars, or when new things come out, you just need people to get used to them and to understand how they work. But I think, yeah, once that will happen, the train will be nicely on the rails.
Amazing, yeah. If I can share my personal belief, because it may be more general for other industries in Web3, I'm a believer of XR, like mixed reality, where we merge, what already exists with Web3, because for me it's very sad when we say we're just going to create everything new. What about all the beautiful things that like we created, throughout thousands of years of, human history? So I really think there is a way of integrating it. Maybe like, people who work in art will find better solutions, but I agree with you that blockchain is the amazing way of proving the ownership and documenting things in a more efficient and secure way. So yeah, I definitely see that, traditional art cannot just like ignore it for too long, and they will join the movement, not just like as a marketing tool right now, but more as like a very serious thing and like 100% commitment for them as well. Okay, we have only a few minutes left, so I would like for you to give a few words of inspiration and maybe a piece of advice for our attendants, for the conference attendants who want to become an artist and start minting their works in Web3?
I think the most important advice is, first of all, to just be yourself and be consistent. I think those are the two things I would possibly tell anyone who wanted to become an artist.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I can add that do your own research. Never believe anyone from just one word. Just do your own research, read a lot, experiment. Never promise anything that that you're not sure that you can make it. And be consistent. Collaborate, experiment, go wild. It's Web3, so like everything is possible. Yep.
I would sum up also make a research about security, because sometimes we forget about this because we are so involved with our work and we are having so much fun, but we forget about security, and this is super, super, super important. And also, yes, always like make your own research, be constantly investigating, be curious. Like imagine like you get into a room that you've never been before. You first have to look, have to explore, have to see who's the people inside this room, what are they looking for, what are they doing, for you to see how you can bring your own value and how you can bring something that you have already learned. Like don't be scared, because we've all gone through this of not understanding anything at the beginning, of not knowing how to start. Like it can be a little bit overwhelming at the beginning till you finally understand what's happening. So take your whole time to understand it. No, there's no rush. Sometimes we feel like everything changes so fast, which actually happens, but don't let that make you feel like frustrated, because somehow you will find like the right community. Like I believe that it's all about meeting the people, involving with them, exploring, asking for help. There are many people willing to help in the space. So yes, like don't shut up, because we are like so used to like have like our own lonely roads and lonely journeys, but right here everything's super different and everyone's super welcoming. So like ask for help always.
Okay, who wants to go next? Oh, please turn on your mic. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm agree with all of you. And yeah, be free, be liberated, but don't forget, don't do something stupid, because everything is recorded. Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Your mints will follow you.
That's true.
Even what you burn still appears on OpenSea sometimes.
yeah.
Well, that sounds like a very good, healthy mindset for all the activities in life. Well, as we are wrapping up, is there anything else you'd like to share, to give to the attendance of House of Muse conference? Well, I guess then we can sum it up. Things that we appreciate, and what I personally learned by organizing the House of Muse conference is that, sometimes all you need to do is to ask, to invite someone to have a conversation, and people say yes. So I really want to encourage, artists who maybe are like doubting themselves or have questions and don't know what to do. Just reach out, just ask, just connect, because I would say Web3 is the most inclusive community that I've ever, experienced in my entire career. So I really wish this discussion helpful for you, and you will stay tuned for more. And thanks to you guys for joining and for sharing your very personal and beautiful stories.
It was happily done, and it was really nice to meet people I actually know, but don't know their faces. So always a nice surprise.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with
it
you.
was nice talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for this
Yeah, thank you
space.
guys.